Kingfisher FM.
And a very special welcome to our advocate, Cisca Moyses from the South African United Employers Organization. And today we're talking a little bit about the tough questions that we often face. And today's segment is The Law Doesn't Wait. Are you ready? I would say ignorance is not bliss. So today we're unpacking some of the tough questions around business survival through a surprise visit from a Department of Labor inspector or a CCMA claim from a former employee. I don't think it's fun. Here's the thing though, most small businesses don't break the law on purpose. They just don't know that they're out of line, and a slip up can cost everything from credibility to capital. So we're joined by advocate Cisca Moyses, the legal advisor and executive member of the SAUEO for short. Cisca, thanks for your time. I hope you're having a great Friday up in P-Town.
Yes, hello there, and also I'm greeting the listeners, and thank you very much for having me.
Cisca, before we dive in, maybe you can briefly explain who the SAUEO is and what you do.
Yes, it is a registered employers organization with the Labor Department, and you can think of us as a version of a trade union for employers. So we've been in business for 25 years, and we've helped business owners, specifically SMEs, to stay on the right side of labor law. We offer CCMA support, and it stands for the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, HR, compliance tools, practical guidance to employers so that they do not face labor disputes alone because you don't want to.
I'm so glad you're on our side because so often we feel like we're up against so many hurdles. So what a pleasure to have you with us. Maybe we can ask, what actually happens if a business is found to be non-compliant?
Well, first of all, the Department of Labor have a vast number of inspectors, and they have the privilege to come and knock on your door, and then they ask for your paperwork. The paperwork is normally all your contracts, your leave records, whether you've registered your employees with the Unemployment Insurance Fund, shortly called UIF. And if the paperwork is not in order, then they issue a compliance order, and you have to comply within a certain period. And if not, then there will be a hefty fine involved. Secondly, if you dismiss an employee without following proper procedures and without a valid reason, that person can take you to the CCMA or bargaining council. Bargaining councils are for a lot of industries in South Africa. And then according to the CCMA statistics, more than 80% of the cases are for unfair dismissal. And about 2/3 of all awards or rulings then goes against the employers. So you do not want to step into the CCMA alone.
Yeah.
So let me give you a short example. Say, for instance, you run a bakery, and the staff member keeps on coming late. And eventually you just tell them, okay, don't come back. So you don't have a proper contract, you don't have all your warnings in place, and there's no hearing. The employee goes to the CCMA, and you could end up paying up to 12 months compensation based on a calculation from their monthly salary.
Yeah, it can get very, very ugly very quickly, and you're not even aware that you're on the wrong side of the law.
Exactly.
So what are the laws that the business owners then need to know about? Because, I mean, you know, there's a plethora of laws, but what are the significant ones that they need to know about so they don't get on the wrong side?
Well, I think the most important one is the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, and it is in the name, basic condition. It covers hours, leave, what to pay, how to pay, and so forth. And then you have the Labour Relations Act that focuses more on the procedures for dismissals in the workplace. And then the Unemployment Insurance Fund Act that deals with the registration of UIF. And then also the Employment Equity Act when you have more than 50 employers. There are many others, but these ones are the basic ones. So beyond law, you also need to have written contracts, proper pay slips, leave and disciplinary records, and then also evidence that you followed fair procedures in any dismissal.
I imagine small businesses get it wrong every now and again because especially when you're starting a small business, your focus is not on all of these legalities. Your focus is on sustainability as a business and getting your name out there and profits and all that type of stuff. So why do small businesses get it wrong?
Well, I think in the first place, as you say, they more focused on the operations of the business and trying to survive. And they don't have an HR or human resources team. And mostly they also rely on verbal agreements and outdated contracts that they might find online. And then, as I said in the beginning, there are bargaining councils for different industries, and each bargaining council has its own agreement with its own terms and conditions. So if you take a contract just from online, you might find out that it doesn't suit your specific industry or your business. And then also sometimes what they do is that they feel they just react and they do not understand that there is a policeman at the end of the tunnel, which is the CCMA, and that can really hurt them financially. We also have a lot of family businesses in South Africa. And what happens is that the job roles overlap and they just rely on each other, and it's very informal. I mean, at the end of the day, it ends up that I asked Peter, but Peter didn't do anything, and now they're in trouble. So I also think that family businesses also need to focus on a proper HR department.
I think that's very true and a good warning, because sometimes when it goes pear-shaped with business and family and money, it's really an unpleasant situation. Now, you have been in the industry some 25 years. We're talking to the South African United Employers Organization, talking to advocate Cisca Moyses. Cisca, what have you seen in the last 25 years as some of the biggest or top mistakes that businesses make, unfortunately?
I think the biggest mistake is the compliance issue. So you employ this person, maybe with an appointment letter, but without a proper contract. It's always better to have the contract in place before the person commences employment, so that everybody understands the terms and conditions. The other thing is that there are no disciplinary policies and codes in place. Now, disciplinary code is sort of the way that the employee understands what actions will eventually translate to misconduct. So they must have those rules in place, those policies and codes, so that the employee knows when he will transgress. And then also that there's not proper record keeping of salary payments, leave and warnings and so forth. So it is basically a compliance issue.
Yeah, if the paperwork's not there, you run into difficulties, and that's often the biggest challenge, isn't it?
True.
So I can't imagine receiving a letter from the CCMA, but what would the CCMA look for in a dispute?
Well, first of all, there must have been a dismissal, and the employee has the right to refer this dismissal to the CCMA if it thinks it's unfair. So the CCMA will look at two things: substantive fairness, in other words, whether the employer had a valid reason to dismiss the employee, and then also to the procedural issue, Did you follow the right steps? And usually we find that there is a valid reason, but they did not follow fair procedure. So that entails that the employee must receive a notice with all his charges. There must be a proper hearing. Witnesses must be called, and the employee must have an opportunity to state his case. And then there's obviously a written ruling at the end. And the employee is then advised of the written ruling, which indicates that you've been dismissed and you've got 30 days to refer your dispute to the CCMA. An interesting fact is that in South Africa, we do not have something like an instant dismissal or summary dismissal. Even if it's the most horrendous transgression, you cannot instantly dismiss.
I guess all of it is, a business owner might say, well, why does this all matter just from a legal, does this all matter from a legal, besides a legal perspective or a legal risk?
Well, you know that unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how to put it, we live in a world where we have social media and staff talk. So your business can be impacted in terms of its reputation, because of the staff talk and the news that spreads on the social media. And then also, if you have one bad, unfair dismissal, that also tarnishes the team morale because trust disappears. There's no trust anymore. And then also cash flow, because a single CCMA outcome can cost you up to 12 months' salary of that particular employee. And you find yourself that you have to pay that money within 14 days. There's no payoff arrangements or anything like that. And the CCMA assist the employees to then issue writs of execution against the employers if they engage on that ruling of the CCMA.
So overall, it can be a pretty costly, unpleasant experience. I mean, we're looking at all the negatives and the downsides, but is there a fix for small businesses that can't afford a legal team? How can they feel that they are supported? What do you recommend?
Well, absolutely. There's a fix, and that is to join an employers organization. Because for a small membership fee per month, you then get allocated your organizer who can deal with all these issues for you, who can go and represent you at the CCMA, who can make sure that you comply. Basic compliance audits can be done. And then also we have a whole library with documents, so you don't need to use the generic ones that are online. And we give industry-related templates that you can use, and that will stand any hearing.
Okay, so very important points, but where do I start as a business owner? What should I do this very week?
You're going to laugh now, but I think in all the years that I've been practicing, I think homework today for every business owner that's been listening to us, go and check whether your employees have signed contracts and if they are current. Because what sometimes happens, they have a position and you promote them, but you do not give them a contract for that promoted position. And then you end up in trouble. So what the people out there, the listeners, can do is they can email us at info.saueo.co.za, and we will definitely sort out all your problems.
Brilliant. That email address, info@saueo.co.za, to be assisted with compliance when it comes to running a small business and you don't want to fall foul of the Department of Labor or the CCMA and you're looking for guidance. I'd strongly encourage you to get in touch with them. A huge thank you to the South African United Employees Association, the SAUEO. And once again, thank you to Advocate Cisca Moyses for her time today. That's it for this episode, but it's just the beginning. Next time, we'll dive into the grey areas of misconduct, what qualifies, how to handle it, and how not to lose your case before it even begins. Stay tuned and stay compliant. Cisca, thank you so much for your time. We wish you a wonderful weekend.
Thank you to you, and the same.